Hello again, it's Cliff here from Down Under. It's been a while since I've done a video on Rapidturn, so I thought I'd drag it out of mothballs and set it up from scratch on the mill and set up a gang tooling platform and mass produce a bunch of these little parts for the impact tolerant touch probe arbors. And for those of you who are thinking of buying Rapidturn or have Rapidturn but hasn't got round to using it yet, this could be interesting so that you can envisage the process of gang tooling production on Rapidturn and see whether you think it might suit your particular application. Alright, cheers. I'm getting low on my ITTP arbor concentricity adjustment pretension nuts, and I need to make a bunch more of them. I bought a length of brass. That's expensive stuff now, and I was just about to set up Slant Pro to make a bunch of those, and I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to drag Rapidturn out of mothballs and go through setting it up and semi-automatic production with the gang tooling platform, just to show you people who are considering Rapidturn whether it's a good option for you. You know, you might be considering what type of CNC turning capacity you need. Is it Rapidturn? Is it Slant Pro? Or is it some other type of machine? So perhaps this is a good opportunity for me to show you setting up and running Rapidturn. Okay, so for a bit of a background, first of all, let's run the part so you can see roughly what I'm doing. Okay, so we're considering Rapidturn. Let's have a quick look at the prices and options. So it seems to have gone up a little bit. Let's say it's for an 1100. The basic headstock unit's about 2,100. And let's say you're looking at some of the accessories. You probably are going to want the 5C accessories, the chuck and the collets, 5C work holding. So what are we looking at there? We're looking at about, where are we, 175 for a 4-inch chuck, and sets of collets. Let's have a look. Here we go. We're looking at between 115 for a very small set and 415 for quite a big set. So it's starting to add up. You've also got to look at quick change electrical connect kit. If you're going to build your own gang tooling platform, you probably don't want to buy this OXA tool holder starter kit here. I had a lot of people mention that this is very light duty and doesn't allow accurate or rigid machining. but you will need to, if you're buying individual components, get this programming key set if it's an 1100. So you're looking at about 3,000 US to get underway with Rapidturn. That's a bit more than it was, but on the other hand, if you're looking at Tormach, and the other option is the 15L Slant Pro, that's gone up as well. So if you're looking at a turret package, in a basic turret package, and most of you will be wanting the turret unless you're doing specialty small work. If you're doing a wide variety of bigger work where you're running a chuck and you want to do automatic production, you probably are going to need the turret. And so we're looking at close to 25,000 plus shipping there. So that's still, almost 10 times the price. So how long is it going to take me to set Rapidturn up? Imagine you're doing this in the future. You've got it set up as a mill, and you've got a big CNC turning job coming up, and you've got to set up Rapidturn. Well, it's a bit of a pain, isn't it? I've got to remove this end plate off the end of the enclosure, that little cutout piece there to clear the motor. Plug in the electrics into here, that only takes a minute. Open up the electrical cabinet, put in the programming key for the 1100 motor. Not a problem if you've got the 770, and bolt it all down, clock it up, put on the platform. I imagine that's going to take me a couple of hours, and probably an hour at the other end putting it all away. We won't count cleaning the machine down because you've got that anyway. So 3 hours every time you do a CNC job minimum. Think about that, the realities of that. Does that suit your situation? Well, I've got the gang tooling platform off the machine. Let's just look at it. Basically, this is just a rough Mark II prototype. It's not a final design, but it seems to work okay. It's just a bit of 3/4 inch thick mild steel, about 13.5 inches long and about 7.5 inches wide. This is for the 1100 with a 1 inch spacer plate on the top. You'll see it in a minute bolted on the 1100, but I'm just showing it to you here on the bench. So there's just a couple of blocks there to hold your tooling, a plate on the end, quick change tool post. It's all pretty basic. You can make this quite quickly. I would use steel rather than aluminium so you don't have problems with thermal expansion. These are just a couple of rough ER20 TTS style blocks, and you'll see the application for those when it's all assembled up. So before we put the Rapidturn gang tooling platform on, let's just quickly look at how I've mounted it. So there's two cap screws here, what are they, 8mm down this end, and two longer 8mm cap screws down the spindle end. Let's just have a look on the machine, show you where they go. So we take two out of the spindle end cartridge, replace them with those long cap screws, and can I get in there under the main casting there? I drilled and tapped a couple of 8mm threads so it bridges across that gap, and it's a very rigid way to mount a gang tooling platform. There's a series of videos I did a year or two ago which go through the work involved in doing that. Before I mount Rapidturn on the mill, perhaps I should go through a couple of details. I needed to put this cover to cover the motor because the motor has a fan in the end and it's likely to suck chips and swarf inside the motor. I found even with this cover it still does it a little bit, and especially if you're machining light materials like acetal or wood or even threads of aluminium, it'll suck it into the motor. And so you at least need a basic cover like this. You really also need to cover this little key lock system, otherwise you're going to get chips down in that area there or in this area, and you really don't want that. There's a couple of minor things that you need to think about doing, I would advise, before you use it too much. While I'm setting up Rapidturn on the machine, I'm just thinking it's actually a really important subject. just how long it takes to set it up and whether or not you can leave it on the machine. You know, this is quite a key consideration. If you're considering buying Rapidturn, you really want to know, can I leave it on the machine or do I have to pull it off? You know, there's a couple of hours work to put it on and an hour's work to pull it off. That's important information. So if you have got Rapidturn and you're leaving it on the machine and you're doing regular milling with the mill on one side and turning on Rapidturn on the other side and you're not finding it a problem, I'd really appreciate it if you would post a comment under this YouTube video saying you're finding it's fine, because, or if you're finding it a problem and you find you need to take it off. You know, that's personally what I think. I'm a bit pedantic and I don't like the way that chips and coolant pool, and you know, it's really hard to clean. It gets into a bit of a mess. It gets in the way. I'm worried about crashing into it when I'm jogging around. So I'd rather just take it off and clean it regularly. But you know, that's a black mark against the whole concept of Rapidturn being a bolt-on attachment. And so if you're finding it a problem or you're finding it's okay, please post underneath this video. I'd really appreciate it. And other people considering the purchase can have a look down there and see how many comments there are and get a bit of a feel for the feedback. Because I think this is really useful. You know, we're making these major decisions about machinery and capital investment, and really want to make an informed, good decision. This sort of information from people who have already gone down the road is very valuable to us, and I think it's good if we've got a way that we can share this information with each other. So please post that comment, have a read of my other videos when I ask these questions, and we can learn from each other. I don't want to overstate the problem of the time taken to set it up. I mean, I've just bolted on the headstock, I've plugged in the spindle drive programming key, plugged in Rapidturn into the accessory socket, plugged it in up here for the power to the motor, and it's quite quick really. I mean, it probably if you did it regularly, not counting time cleaning, you know, you've got cleaning anyway, haven't you? So if we just count the net time, you could probably do a changeover in about an hour. Of course, I've still got to set up the gang tooling, but you know, got the same problem with Slant Pro if you're doing gang tooling. And while I'm on the subject of gang tooling in a mill setup, don't forget you've got much more capacity for gang tooling here. And when I put the two droppers down, you're using a 3-axis machine, whereas the lathe is only a 2-axis machine, so that extra axis multiplies the number of positions. You've now got an area that you can use for gang tooling. When you use a mill, on a lathe you've only got a line. So you could have 3 or 4 times the number of tools within an area than you could have with a similar size line, just one axis. So that's a big advantage if you want to save the cost of a turret and you're looking at gang tooling. Then a mill setup gives you a lot more capacity. Well, I think this is going to be too long-winded if I try and fit it all into one video. So hang out for the next exciting episode. See you soon. Cheers.